Hey guys, what's going on? James Klug here. Today I'm with Mike.
What's up, guys?
And we are at USC and we're talking to students about the elite bribing their way into colleges.
Did you hear about the nationwide scandal of the rich celebrities paying for their kids to get into elite colleges?
As of yesterday, yeah, I did.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
It's an eye-opener, definitely.
So one of the girls in question lives 2 floors above me, so I kind of knew. I wasn't surprised when I found out, but it's still really disheartening to hear that that's how people are getting into schools. When like a lot of my friends applied and didn't get in, who were like more than worthy.
I think it's unfair to people that actually work hard to get into school, and then their spots are lost because people that have money actually get in because they get bribed. Like the school gets bribed for it.
Honestly, I think that it's, and everybody's been saying this, that it is not fair that just other students who are very qualified didn't get the space because they bribed their way in, and that is just terrible.
I feel like because there's so many families in question, I feel like some of the kids didn't know. And in that case, like I feel really awful for what's gonna happen to them because like I can't say, but like if the kids were in on it, then I feel like they should be expelled. You should be getting here based on merit, not based on how much money your family has.
So do you think that school should be, when it comes to getting into education or elite colleges, it should be based off of merit alone and you can't just pay your way into it?
Of course, most definitely. I mean, that's what we all kind of presumed before this kind of scandal broke out, so I think we should make sure that we regulate that and enforce that.
Would you ladies agree that you believe that students should be getting to elite colleges strictly based off merit, how hard someone works to get to where they are?
Yes, because it's like the scandals. Like, so someone could get into USC because they have money. But what about the person that actually works hard, gets good grades, and has a really good GPA? And it's like, that's really unfair.
Yeah, I would agree as well. You just have to like work hard if you want something, and it's kind of unfortunate that like someone that has so much money can just like bribe someone.
Should they basically make it secure a way for when they accept applicants into these universities that they make it based only on merit and not basically how much money you have?
Yeah, but I mean, like, that's like a nice idea, but it's like, in practice, would that work? I'm not too convinced that it would, because all it takes is for 1 or 2 corrupt higher-ups to accept a donation and to tell someone, hey, this person needs to be accepted.
Well, maybe multiple people looking at applications instead of like 1 or 2 people sitting in the administration's department.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I'm not actually sure how it works right now.
Just like, do you have the grades? Do you have the extracurricular activities? Did you put in the work to like come here? And yeah, pretty much that's what it should be.
Do you know what affirmative action is?
Yes, I'm a recipient of Affirmative Action.
Okay.
Affirmative Action is a program in place where somebody with the same GPA as, let's say, a person that's not a minority, a non-minority with the same GPA as a minority, the minority will get picked to go into a school over the non-minority. Do you guys agree with that?
That's kind of, it makes you think.
Do you think that schools should be admitting students based off of their minority group?
To an extent, I think that's okay.
Do you agree with Affirmative Action's role on a college campus, or
Yeah,
no?
I do.
When it comes to affirmative action, they're accepting students based off of minority groups. Do you think that, like you just admitted that you said that people should be admitted into schools based off of merits and not just, because they have money or they meet some demographic? Do you think that should be the same for affirmative action?
Well, I think it's a little more tricky because the prior question was pertaining to people who come from higher socioeconomic status, middle class, upper middle class. I believe that when it comes to lower class and lower middle class families, you should look at merit as well as financial situations and kind of balance the two out.
Well, I mean, we just had the conversation about judging them based on merit. So would you agree or disagree with the way affirmative action is in place?
Wow.
If there is a lower class white person, right, and a upper class African American, would you say that the upper class African American they have the same GPA? Would you say that the upper class African American getting into a school and the lower class white American not getting into the school is fair?
Same GPA, upper class. No, I don't think that's fair if they have the same GPA.
I feel like if you're both at the same level, it doesn't really matter if like the physical appearance. It's like what can you bring to the school that the reason that they chose you for, you know?
Let's say you have a 4.0 GPA and you do sports. And another student, let's say they're a minority and they have a 4.0 GPA, same as you, they do sports, same as you, everything's the same, but the minority would get chosen over you. Do you agree with that or do you disagree with that?
I agree with that completely.
Honestly, my thoughts are, being a beneficiary from affirmative action myself, I feel as though the focus should be primarily put on the public school system and the vast differences between the high schools and socioeconomic backgrounds of less richer families, if that makes sense. I think that we should look at the public school system and how they prepare those students who aren't as financially fortunate to get into universities, so that when they arrive at those elite schools, they avoid that shell shock that comes with the leap from public schools to elite university.
So why would you agree with affirmative action if it's judging people based off their skin color instead of maybe the class that they're in?
I think because typically the class that they're in, you asked?
Economic class,
Oh, I think that would be better then.
They graduate high school and they're decent performing students, and if they were put in any other school, they would, be top tier or middle tier students.
Right.
But what happens is that you have, let's say, blacks, for example, compared to whites are performing academically in college, at a greater rate than they are, and Asians are performing at a greater rate than whites. So if you put them in USC or UC Berkeley, and this is not all blacks, but a general population of them, they're now at the bottom 10% tier when it comes to academics, because they're being put against people who have a greater academic advantage than them. So it's basically making it so that way they'll drop out at higher rates and fail at higher rates because they're not performing compared to if they're put in a school where it fit their academic, value better.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a good point.
I think affirmative action should look more into the socioeconomic factors that goes into, that way that white family that's doesn't have as much money as another white family that's affluent still also gets put in the same playing field as someone who is of color and also is not as well represented.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, no, I fully agree with that. The only thing is that's not the way it is right now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I can also agree with that. That it isn't fully how it is right now.
Would you be mad if you learned that you didn't get accepted to this fantastic school and someone else did because of the color of their skin and they did everything the same as you? Would you be upset about that?
No.
In a college campus, do you think it's more important to have physical diversity or diversity of thought?
Diversity of thought.
I would agree.
Most people, when they complain about the flaws of affirmative action, they say the students aren't prepared for these universities because of the background they come from. So affirmative action is a flawed system because it's putting students who, they are bright, they are smart, but they're putting them against students who are even brighter and even smarter. And if they were to go to maybe a school that fit their educational level, they would be at the top tier. But because they're going to schools like UC Berkeley or Harvard, they're now being put at the bottom 10% and being put on as failures, as dropouts, where in normal circumstances they would actually be in the top tier of their school.
Right.
So just to clarify, you would be totally fine if you got rejected from USC, which I'm sure you worked hard to be at, and someone else got accepted, you guys had the same GPA, and you'd be totally okay with that?
I mean, it would be disappointing.
You would say you disagree with affirmative action in prioritizing someone else because of the color of their skin, correct?
Correct.
So would you say, if I guess we were to revisit the last question, would you say that you disagree with how affirmative action is in place in today's society?
So now, after talking about it, I do agree with that.
Now, if you could redo it, would you say, okay, go based off class instead of the color of their skin, so it's a little bit more specific?
Yeah, I would.
Very cool. All right. Got a ladybug.
Let me restart it quick.
Oh my god.